Caution, fall asleep to this tonight. It will manifest by morning. Caution tonight. As you close your eyes and surrender to sleep, you are stepping into the most powerful doorway of creation. What you carry into your sleep is not just a fleeting thought. It is the seed of tomorrow's reality. Every image you hold, every feeling you allow, every state you rest in will be taken up by the deeper part of you that never sleeps, and by morning it will begin to solidify in the world around you. This is not a casual act. It is sacred. If you drift into sleep rehearsing your fears, life will echo them back to you. But if you dare to feel the wish fulfilled, to rest as though it is already yours, the invisible will clothe itself in the visible, and you will awaken to a new world. So be cautious tonight, for your last thought is your first creation, and by morning you will see the proof of what you allowed yourself to become. The last thought before sleep creates tomorrow every night. As you prepare to close your eyes and drift into the realm of sleep, you stand at the threshold of creation, holding within your mind the power to shape what tomorrow will bring. It is not the hours of toil that mold your future, but the state of consciousness you surrender to in those final, quiet moments before sleep. The world has taught you to believe that tomorrow is governed by chance, effort, or the unfolding of circumstances outside your control, but the truth is far more profound. The very last thought, image, or feeling you impress upon your mind before the conscious God dissolves will be carried into the infinite storehouse of your deeper self, and there it will be magnified, multiplied, and projected into the fabric of your waking life. To ignore this sacred moment is to live unconsciously, repeating cycles of disappointment, but to use it wisely is to step into mastery, for sleep is the great gateway where imagination becomes reality. Think for a moment of the countless nights you may have entered your rest rehearsing old wounds, replaying the harsh words of another, or silently worrying about tomorrow's burdens. Did not those very burdens seem to meet you again the next day, often in the very form you feared? This is no accident, it is law. The subconscious accepts as true whatever the conscious impresses upon it, and in sleep the conscious ceases to resist. That is why the last thought before sleep is the most potent seed you will ever plant. What you think when you lie down may seem insignificant, but it is not. The universe does not distinguish between a passing idle thought and a deeply felt conviction. It simply reflects back what you persist in feeling real. That is why you must learn to discipline the inner conversation of your night. If you wish for a new tomorrow, you cannot go to bed in the same old state of lack. You must dare to close your eyes and enter into the feeling of your desire fulfilled, for as you drift into slumber, unseen hand of creation takes hold of that impression and begins to weave it into the events, encounters, and circumstances of your tomorrow. Imagine, then, that you wish for abundance. To lie in bed repeating, "I hope I will have enough, I wish things would change," is to surrender to the state of lack, and lack will surely greet you with the rising sun. But if instead you lie down and feel the joy of already possessing more than enough, if you let gratitude well up in you as though your desire were already complete, then you will sleep in wealth, and wealth will echo back in your waking world. Or perhaps you long for love. If you enter sleep lamenting loneliness, if you rehearse the absence of what you crave, then absence will continue to surround you. But if you lie quietly and imagine the warmth of love's embrace, if you allow yourself to rest in the peace of companionship already yours, then the law cannot fail to bring love into manifestation. The secret is simple, yet so often overlooked. You must fall asleep in the state you wish to wake into. Many people fall asleep to the noise of the day, to the memory of arguments, to the weight of problems unsolved, and they wonder why their life remains unchanged. They have not guarded the doorway of sleep, and therefore they create by default, allowing fear, anger, or doubt to become the seed of tomorrow. But the one who learns to deliberately fashion the final thought, who closes their eyes with intention, becomes the master of their destiny. Sleep is not passive, it is creative. It is the moment when the conscious hands over the blueprint to the subconscious architect, who works tirelessly throughout the night to build what it has been given. If the blueprint is chaos, chaos will be constructed. If the blueprint is peace, peace will rise to greet you. So tonight, as you prepare to rest, remember this. Caution is wisdom. Be cautious with the final feeling you allow, for it is not just a feeling. It is tomorrow's reality in seed form. Refuse to drift into sleep with worry. Instead, turn your Attention inward and see the wish already fulfilled. Do not allow your senses to dictate, for they show you only what already has been. Sleep asks you to trust, to feel beyond appearances, to step boldly into the invisible world of imagination. If you can fall asleep with the conviction that your dream is already true, the law will not fail you. You will awaken into evidence of what you have dared to assume. Life is not a cruel game of chance, but a mirror that reflects your most persistent inner state. Every morning is a silent testimony to the thoughts you carried into sleep. You have been living inside your assumptions, whether you knew it or not. But from this night forward you can choose deliberately. You can choose to turn away from fear and toward faith, from lack to plenty, from sorrow to joy, by entering sleep as though all is already well. Let your final thought be one of completion. Let your last inner word be one of gratitude, not for what you hope will come, but for what you already possess in the unseen. Lay your body down in stillness, but lift your heart in assurance. Whisper to yourself not what you lack, but what you are. And as you cross the threshold into slumber, know that you have handed over the pattern of tomorrow to the deeper self who cannot fail. By morning, the world will begin to bend itself to the pattern you impressed. Every dawn is simply the echo of a night before. Guard, then, your final thought, for it is the golden key to your destiny. Assume the wish fulfilled. To assume the wish fulfilled is to take hold of the greatest key given to humanity. For it is the conscious act of clothing yourself in the invisible reality before it appears in the visible. It is the daring of the soul to declare that what is unseen is already mine, and to rest in the certainty of it, though every outward sense may scream the opposite. This is the essence of faith, not waiting and hoping, but assuming and knowing. To assume the wish fulfilled is not to daydream idly, but to enter into the very feeling of possession now, in this moment, and to carry it with you until it becomes the natural atmosphere of your being. Most people live as beggars, hoping that someday life will grant them what they ask, but the secret is that life always gives not what you ask, but what you assume. The world is not shaped by petitions, but by states, and your assumption of being or having what you desire becomes the law of your experience. Consider for a moment how easily you assume limitation when you say, "I cannot," when you dwell on lack, when you repeat to yourself the story of failure. You are assuming a wish too, but it is a wish for more of what you do not want, and because you accept it, it becomes your world. But when you learn to assume the state of your desire fulfilled, the law cannot fail to reflect it back to you. This is why the instruction is always to feel it real, to inhabit the reality of the wish already completed, and to persist in that state until it hardens into fact. Let us make this practical. If you long for success, do not wait for a sign before you believe. Instead, imagine and feel the thrill of accomplishment now. Let the scene of victory play before your inner eyes until it stirs emotion within you that convinces your heart it is already done. Fall asleep in the feeling of triumph. Rise in the morning clothed in it. Walk throughout your day carrying it quietly within, and soon the outer world will rearrange itself to make room for the reality you have already assumed. Same is true of love. Many cry out for love, yet they assume rejection. They say they want companionship, yet they live inwardly rehearsing loneliness. But if you would assume the wish fulfilled, you must feel yourself already embraced, already chosen, already cherished. Hear within yourself words of affection spoken to you. Imagine the small daily acts of love. Allow yourself to feel the warmth of it as if it were happening now, and in time that invisible assumption will call forth the visible counterpart. The law is precise. It does not respond to begging nor to waiting, but to assumption, and this assumption must be sustained, for many undo their own work by looking outward for proof too soon. They say, "I will believe when I see it." But the true creative act is to believe in order to see. This is the great reversal. Do not wait for the world to convince you, but convince yourself within, and the world will bow. To assume the wish fulfilled is not always easy, for the senses will pull you toward appearances, and appearances often contradict your inner vision. But this is where the true test lies. Can you remain loyal to the unseen, refusing to betray your desire by acknowledging its opposite? Can you shut the door on doubt and continue to walk inwardly in the state of fulfillment? Every great achievement, every miracle, every shift in destiny has always sprung from someone who dared to assume first. even when evidence was lacking. The man who assumes wealth while yet poor will find doors of opportunity swing open, not because chance favored him, but because his assumption reordered his mind and magnetized his world. The woman who assumes health while her body is weak will see strength return, not because of mere optimism, but because the assumption of wholeness instructed her subconscious to rebuild according to that pattern. Life does not argue with you, it simply reflects the state you persist in. Therefore, assumption is not a passing thought but a dwelling place. To assume the wish fulfilled is to live from the end, to let the end be so real to you that it eclipses all doubt. It is to lie down at night not as one hoping but as one who has already received. It is to walk in daylight with a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken because you are not waiting. You are already, and in this alreadiness lies the power. Every creation begins invisibly, and assumption is the womb in which it grows. The moment you assume, the seed is planted. Persist in the feeling, and the seed will break the soil of appearances, emerging as the fact of your world. But abandon the assumption, return to the state of lack, and seed withers, so be unwavering. Hold fast to the inner conviction even when all seems contrary. Remember this, the outer world is but a shadow of the inner. To try to change the shadow without changing the substance is futile. But when you change the assumption, the shadow must obey. Live as though it is done, and it will be done. Do not ask how it will come. The how is the work of the deeper self, the subconscious mind, the unseen intelligence that governs all. Your only work is to assume and persist. Rest in the end, dwell in the feeling, and trust the unseen to make it visible. If you can dare to live tonight in the end of your desire, even before a single sign appears, you have mastered the law of creation. For assumption, once firmly held, becomes faith, and faith makes the unseen seen. So tonight, assume boldly, do not wait, do not waver, close your eyes and walk inwardly into the world you desire, feel its reality, breathe its atmosphere, let gratitude rise as though it were already yours, sleep in that state, rise in that state, and live in that state, and soon the world will conform. For life is a mirror, and it has no choice but to return to you the image you persist in assuming. Imagination is the seed of manifestation. Imagination is not a fleeting daydream, nor a child's plaything, but the very womb of creation, the unseen workshop where every visible thing is first fashioned before it enters the stage of life. And to neglect this truth is to live as a prisoner of appearances, tossed about by circumstance, blind to the creative power resting silently within you, waiting only to be recognized and used. For nothing has ever been brought forth into this world that was not first born as a picture within the mind. No building, no invention, no work of art, no victory, no transformation of life. All began as an inner image, tender, delicate, unseen by the world, yet already alive, waiting only for persistence to carry it into manifestation. You may look at the life you live today and believe it is the result of fate or external forces, but if you dare to look closer, you will see that it is nothing more than the harvest of seeds you yourself have planted in imagination, seeds sown in moments of belief, watered with feeling, and nourished by repetition until they took root and grew into the form of your daily experience. This is why imagination is the secret force of destiny, for it is the soil in which every desire is conceived. The world will tell you to work harder, to strive outwardly, to chase what you want, but the mystic knows that the real labor is within, to hold fast to the image of the wish fulfilled, to see it, to feel it, to let it live within you until it grows so real that the outer world cannot help but conform. For imagination does not follow reality, reality follows imagination. Consider how a seed works in nature. When a gardener plants a seed, he does not yet see the tree, but he knows the tree is already present within the seed in potential. He does not dig it up each day to check if it is growing, for that would destroy it, but instead he trusts the unseen process, waters it, and allows time and the hidden laws of life to unfold what is already contained within. So it is with imagination. The moment you vividly see your desire, the moment you feel it as real, you have planted the seed, and if you do not uproot it by doubt or fear, it must grow, for that is law. Yet most people, ignorant of this truth, plant seeds of lack, of failure, of sorrow, and then wonder why their lives bear bitter fruit. They spend hours rehearsing the worst outcomes, imagining betrayal, loss, and disaster, not realizing they are sowing the very seeds that will blossom into their lived experience. They water these destructive images with emotion, repeat them day after day, and when they ripen into facts they call it misfortune or bad luck, never seeing that they themselves were the unconscious gardeners of their own fate. But you, if you would awaken to power, must take hold of your imagination as the sacred ground of creation, refusing to allow it to be the dumping ground of fear, and instead filling it with the vision of what you desire to see. Do not treat imagination as a mere escape, but as reality itself in its first stage of becoming. For to imagine a thing is not to pretend, it is to create. Imagination is the reality waiting to be clothed in form, and when you give yourself permission to live inwardly in the world you wish to see outwardly, you align with the law of creation. Think of the great artist who sees a sculpture in a block of stone before his chisel ever strikes. He is not deceived by the rough surface, for inwardly he already beholds the masterpiece. So too must you learn to look beyond appearances and see the invisible reality within. If your bank account is empty, imagine abundance. If your body is weak, imagine health. If your heart is lonely, imagine companionship. And do not merely see it faintly, enter into it, feel it, let it saturate your senses until it feels more real than the lack before your eyes. For imagination is not a passive sight, but an active participation. It is stepping into the state of the wish, fulfilled and living there as though it were already true. The more you dwell in that state, the more natural it becomes, and the more natural it becomes, the sooner it manifests, for the outer world is compelled to mirror the inner conviction. This is why you must guard your imagination with diligence, for it is the sacred soil of life, and whatever you allow to be planted there will, without fail, bring forth fruit. Ask yourself daily, what seeds am I planting in my inner garden? Are they seeds of faith, of joy, of victory, or are they seeds of fear, doubt, and despair? For life cannot give you what you have not first given yourself in imagination. You cannot reap a harvest of love if you continually sow images of rejection. You cannot reap abundance if you rehearse poverty. You cannot live in peace if you continually picture chaos. The law is exact, and it cannot be broken. Therefore, if you would change your life, you must first change the images you dwell upon. Begin tonight. As you close your eyes, cast aside the old story of limitation, and deliberately imagine the scene that would be true if your desire were already fulfilled. Do not beg, do not hope. Imagine it done, see it vividly, hear the voices, feel the joy, breathe the air of that completed reality, and let yourself rest in it. This is the planting of the seed, and if you will persist, life itself will bring the harvest. Do not be deceived by time. Some seeds sprout quickly, others take longer, but all grow according to their kind. Trust the unseen process, for imagination never fails when sustained. The world you see tomorrow will always be the fruit of the images you entertain today. Imagination is the beginning, the root, the seed. To neglect it is to live in bondage, but to master it is to live as a creator, free to design the destiny of your choosing. So take caution, take reverence, and above all, take responsibility for the images you hold, for they are not idle. They are life itself, waiting to take form. And when you finally awaken to the truth that imagination is the seed of manifestation, you will stop waiting for miracles and start planting them deliberately until your whole life becomes the garden of your own creation. Sleep is the gateway of creation. Sleep is not merely the body's rest, nor the mind's retreat into unconsciousness, but the sacred passage through which all creation is born, the holy gateway between the seen and unseen, the visible and invisible, the conscious and the subconscious, and whoever understands this mystery holds in their hands the key to shaping destiny itself. For it is in sleep that the conscious guard dissolves and the deeper self takes full command, and whatever impression you hand over in that moment becomes the law of your world. Most men and women go to bed weary, rehearsing the events of the day, carrying with them the burdens of lack, disappointment, fear, and resentment, never knowing that these states, planted at the threshold of sleep, will ripen and appear as the facts of tomorrow. They think they are simply reviewing reality, but they are creating it again, reinforcing the very chains that bind them. But to the awakened soul, sleep is no passive act. It is the highest act of creation. For what you fall asleep feeling, you will wake to find expressed in your life. Sleep is the great equalizer, silent creator that never fails, because in sleep the conscious effort of will is silenced, and the subconscious, the true power, takes over. It cannot reason, it cannot argue, it cannot reject. It only accepts what is impressed upon it and expresses it faithfully, whether that impression is joy or sorrow, wealth or poverty, health or sickness, freedom or bondage. This is why the last thought, the last feeling, the last assumption you carry into sleep is more powerful than all your waking efforts, for the subconscious works through the night, tirelessly weaving into the tapestry of your world the state you surrender to. To neglect this moment is to hand your destiny to chance, but to master it is to wield the pen that writes tomorrow's story. Understand then the true meaning of the command to watch and pray. It is not simply to keep vigil in the day, but to guard the gates of your mind as you drift into slumber, to watch what state you allow yourself to fall into, and to pray not as a plea to a distant power, but as a deliberate act of assuming the end desired, resting in the conviction that it is already yours. When you close your eyes at night, you step into the temple of creation. There, imagination is the only reality, and feeling is the only law. If you wish to see change in your life, begin by changing the state in which you fall asleep. Do not drift into unconsciousness rehearsing what you hate, for you will awaken only to meet it again. Instead, dare to feel the joy of your wish fulfilled. Let gratitude rise in you as though you have already received it, and allow that state to carry you into slumber. You may ask, how can I feel rich when I am poor? How can I feel loved when I am alone? How can I feel healed when my body is sick? But this is the very secret. Sleep does not demand evidence, it demands faith. It does not require proof, only assumption. The moment you dare to enter into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even though the senses contradict, you have planted the seed, and sleep waters it in the depths of subconscious. By morning the world will already be bending itself to that new assumption. You may not see the full harvest in a single day, but the process begins immediately, and if you persist it must unfold. The law cannot fail. The world you wake into is always the reflection of the state you fell asleep in. Recall those nights you went to bed anxious, and the morning seemed to greet you with more of the same trouble, or the nights you slept in peace and rose refreshed with unexpected blessings. This is no coincidence. It is the immutable law of creation at work. Sleep is the great reset, the nightly death of the old self and rebirth of the new. What self are you dying into? What self are you resurrecting by morning? If you enter sleep as one who is defeated, you will awaken defeated. But if you enter sleep as one victorious, even if all outward evidence denies it, you will awaken into victory. The secret is not to fight circumstances, but to assume the end, to feel yourself already in possession of what you desire, and then to surrender it to sleep. Let sleep be the altar upon which you lay your offering of imagination. Let it be the sacred chamber where you commune with your deeper self, instructing it by feeling rather than words, and then resting in the assurance that it will bring it to pass. Know this, you do not need to force or struggle, for sleep is effortless. You simply need to guide the state you fall into. Take those final moments before unconsciousness and fill them deliberately with the picture of your heart's desire. See yourself already there, already healed, already abundant, already loved. Let the scene unfold inwardly until it feels natural, until your heart believes it, and then allow sleep to carry it deep. By morning, the invisible process will have begun. Some seeds manifest swiftly, others take longer, but all must grow. The one who learns to control sleep controls life, for sleep is the gateway through which all things enter. To those who mock imagination as unreal, life will continue to echo their doubt, but those who revere imagination as reality, sleep becomes the most powerful act of the day. Each night you are given the chance to rewrite your destiny, to cast aside the old story and assume the new. What story will you tell yourself tonight? Will you rehearse fear, or will you assume faith? Will you dwell in lack, or will you rest in plenty? The choice is yours, and the law will never fail to honor it. Therefore, guard your sleep with vigilance, and use it with intention. Let no idle thought, no bitter memory, no anxious rehearsal take root in those sacred moments, for sleep is not the end of the day, it is the beginning of tomorrow. It is the womb of creation, the hidden workshop where all things are made. Enter it reverently, use it wisely, and it will become the secret source of your transformation. If you will make this practice your own, to fall asleep each night in the state of wish fulfilled, then every morning will greet you with a world reshaped to your desire, for sleep is not a retreat into nothingness. It is the gateway of creation. Morning reveals what night conceived. Morning is never accidental, never a random unfolding of unrelated events, but the exact harvest of the seeds you planted in the silence of night. For every dawn is a mirror reflecting the state you carried into sleep, and whether you know it or not, the first light of day always unveils the conception of the previous night's imagination. Life does not happen to you, it happens through you, and the world you awaken to is nothing more than the shadow cast by the inner state you surrendered to before sleep closed your eyes. Consider this truth with solemnity. What you allow yourself to dwell upon, feel, and accept as real in the last quiet minutes of consciousness is received by the deeper self who never slumbers, and that self, faithful and impartial, magnifies it through the night and presses it outward into your waking world. Morning, therefore, reveals the child of your nightly union with imagination. If you fell asleep rehearsing fears, you will awaken to circumstances that echo them. If you entered sleep in gratitude, you will find the day arranged to match it. This law is exact, and it does not discriminate between what you desire and what you dread. It simply expresses what you impressed. Most drift into sleep as victims of their day, rehearsing old arguments, revisiting wounds, carrying resentment, or clinging to the evidence of lack, and then they wonder why each morning greets them with the same story told again in different form. They do not realize they themselves are the authors, scripting the next chapter in the stillness of night. Yet the one who understands the sacredness of sleep knows that night is not a closing but a beginning, not a fading into nothingness but a planting into eternity, and therefore treats it as the holiest of hours. For what you conceive in imagination while the senses are stilled will always be revealed in the bright clarity of morning. If you wish for a new dawn, you must first give yourself a new conception. You must dare to enter sleep in the state of the wish fulfilled, to clothe yourself in the end you desire, to feel it alive and real before handing it over to the subconscious in trust. And when you do, the morning cannot fail to show you the evidence of that assumption. The child conceived in silence will not remain hidden. It must be born. Think of the countless times you woke from a night steeped in sorrow and found the new day heavy with the very burdens you feared, and then recall the times you slept in peace, perhaps after imagining good fortune, love, or joy, and the morning seemed to unfold with lightness, opportunities appearing, unexpected kindness meeting you on the path. This is no chance occurrence, it is law. The outer world is but the echo of the inner, and morning is the revealer of the work done in darkness. Therefore, treat your nights with reverence, for you are not drifting into unconsciousness, but entering the workshop of creation. The body may rest, but imagination labors. The senses may close, but the deeper self remains awake, shaping and weaving according to the blueprint you provided. If you give it fear, it will construct fear. If you give it faith, it will construct faith. Morning never lies, it only reveals. The wise, therefore, prepare for dawn not by anxiously anticipating tomorrow, but by deliberately shaping tonight. They know that to sleep as though the wish were already fulfilled is to command the morning to reveal it. They understand that to surrender to gratitude, joy, and abundance in the quiet before sleep is to summon a day filled with the same. This is the hidden meaning of being born again each day. The self you carried in night dies, and the self you conceived rises with the sun. Which self shall you awaken as? That is determined by the conception of the night before. The power of this truth is staggering, for it means you need not wait for life to change by chance. You can change it each night, deliberately, by choosing the state you fall asleep in. No effort of waking struggle can match the effortless creation of sleep, for the subconscious works beyond the limits of time and logic, arranging people, circumstances, and events to reflect the inner seed. When you awaken, you step into the harvest. This is why caution is wisdom. Guard your nights, for they are sacred. Do not lie down rehearsing lack. Lie down rehearsing abundance. Do not drift into sleep in loneliness. Drift into sleep embraced in love. Do not surrender to fear, surrender to faith. Let your final thought before sleep be not a worry, but a vision, not a memory of what was, but an assumption of what is now true in imagination. And if you persist in this practice, morning will become your daily revelation. Each dawn a confirmation of the law, each sunrise a testimony to your creative power, for morning never creates, it only reveals. The creation has already been done in the night. Life, then, is a continual cycle of conception and revelation, night and morning, imagination and manifestation. If you would master your world, you must master the night, and if you would master the night, you must master imagination. Each day is simply the outer dramatization of the inner state accepted in sleep. Do not dismiss this truth as mere poetry, for its accuracy will prove itself to you if you dare to test it. Tonight, as you lie down, close your eyes and deliberately conceive the world you wish to see tomorrow. Enter into it fully, feel it until it thrills you, rest in it as though it were already complete. Then let sleep carry it deep, and in the morning, watch as life bends to reveal what you dared to conceive. Some changes will be subtle, others swift and startling, but all will come. For morning is the faithful revealer, and it never fails to deliver what night has conceived.